Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I keep hearing people say that the old Trump is gone. He's not the same, he's low energy. That firebrand 2016 Trump no longer exists. He's a shell of his former self. Well, to that I respond, if that's your opinion, I don't think you're paying attention, because I think what we're seeing here is peak Trump. Sure, it's a little bit more of a calculated Trump, a little bit less abrasive and no ex-presence, but let's be totally real here. He's still the exact same animal. And lately, I gotta say, the guy's on a freaking tear. He is hitting the nail on the head, square, flush, and it's triggering the left like you could not imagine. Trump is telling the truth, and the left is so outraged. They're trying to make the argument that he's a bad person, but let me just say this, telling the truth just because it makes people uncomfortable does not make you a bad person. If anything, it makes you a courageous person. Let's have a conversation about that. Let me show you guys some of the viral clips currently bouncing around, and let's actually get into the detail, the context, rather than just feigning moral outrage, clutching pearls, getting your panties in a knot like these leftoids are. Let's actually stick to the subject instead of desperately trying to avoid it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so first off I want to start off with this clip right over here. I think I might have played this in a video yesterday, but we're going to play it again because it goes perfectly with the rest of these clips. Take a look.
Kamala is mentally impaired. If a Republican did what she did, if a Republican did what she did, that Republican would be impeached and removed from office, and rightfully so, for high crimes and misdemeanors. That would be high crimes and misdemeanors. Think of it. 13,099 murderers, convicted of murder, not like convicted of murder. Some of the worst murders you've ever seen. They're all in our country now, every one of them. And I've been saying this for 3 years, and the fake news has been saying, well, you don't know that. Well, now we know it. They've never released a list like this. Not just on this, they've never done it. Over the years, they've never done it. She let in, and that's not even mentioning the rapists, the gang members, the drug dealers, the child predators, and the traffickers in women. In women, mostly women. Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. Okay. She was born that way. And if you think about it, only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country.
And you mean to tell me that Trump isn't back? Give me a frickin' break. The Trumpinator never went anywhere. He never left the building. And for me, these kinds of things are kind of like a litmus test. How someone reacts to a clip like this lets me know all I need to know. There's a people who are outraged at the idea that anybody would say something so rude and offensive. The typical mean tweets people. I'm gonna vote for communism. Foreign wars literally getting poorer as Mark Zuckerberg and the billionaire class continue to reap all the benefits because I just can't handle the mean tweets. There's that reaction, and then of course there's the other reaction, which is, yes, this is what we're all saying. In fact, this is what I've been saying for months. No, actually years. What am I saying? I've been talking about this phenomenon forever. I've said it a little bit differently. I think Donald Trump certainly took it to the next level, which is what Donald Trump does, but what I've been saying for years, essentially, in essence, is the exact same thing. Joe Biden is incompetent. He sucks. But he wasn't always that way. At one point, Joe Biden was competent and cognitively aware. Now, I'm not saying he was a good politician by any means. I'm not saying he wasn't corrupt, but at least his brain worked. Joe Biden's cognitive issues come from old age. Kamala Harris, she doesn't have the excuse that Joe Biden does, yet she's equally as incompetent and equally as incoherent. For Pete's sakes, we've been covering the Kamala campaign for the last, what has it been, like 2.5 months? And I still don't understand her policies. I still don't know what she stands for. Because when she speaks, when she tries to articulate her ideas, well, frankly, it makes no sense. It's total word salad nonsense. And so essentially what I'm saying is Trump is right. Kamala Harris is incompetent and she doesn't have an excuse. And really, this is what so many people have been talking about forever, even the left to a certain extent. Kamala Harris used to be the butt of every joke, but now all of a sudden that she's their last chance, it's unacceptable to tell the truth. Supposedly we should be offended by these moments, but I'm not. These are the moments where my perception of Trump, if anything, becomes more positive because he's saying the same thing that I'm saying. He's saying the same thing that you're joking about with your friends over a couple beers. If anything, I view it as authentic, less than offensive. In fact, in a lot of these moments, and I think this probably speaks to a lot of people, it feels almost as if Donald Trump is speaking for me. You know, he's speaking for regular people. And actually, that's the perfect segue to the next clip. Another viral moment, Trump just isn't holding back anymore.
Anybody that wants to come. So we have travel warnings, don't go here, don't go there, don't go to the various countries, and yet she's taken in the worst of those people. The killers, the jailbirds, all of the worst of the people, she's taken them in. And then I have to sit there and listen to her bullshit last night. And who puts it on? Fox News, and they shouldn't be allowed to put it.
Again, are we supposed to be offended because he said BS? Of course not. We're all saying the same thing. We all watched Kamala Harris go to the southern border and gaslight us, pretending as if she cares and she's going to do something about it. Meanwhile, she's the architect of this illegal migration crisis. She's literally the current border czar. It's her responsibility to work on securing the border. She represents the current administration that's been in power for 4 years, and we're supposed to sit here and get lectured by her on the southern border? It's a complete farce. I refuse to play these emotionally weak, manipulative games. You know, what's really going on is this sort of manipulation of PC culture that's meant to shame people into doing what the establishment wants. It's feigning faux outrage in an effort to steer people away from Donald Trump. Oh, you can't go anywhere near that. That's crazy and radical. How extreme. But it's not. There's nothing radical about it. You know what's radical? Opening the border for 4 years. Talking about granting mass amnesty. Claiming that illegal border crossers aren't criminals, allowing drugs and criminals to pour over a purposely porous border in an attempt to paint yourself as some sort of benevolent deity who's just so above everybody else, a shepherd of the illegals. Give me a frickin' break. Like I've been saying, folks, this election is fake versus real. And really, I think it goes well beyond that. I think it's good versus evil. But just sticking on the whole real versus fake thing, you know, I think it's becoming more and more evident that Trump's a real dude, and Kamala and the rest of these establishment type empty suit politicians are as fake as it comes. And that, I believe, is why regular working class people connect with Trump the way that they do.
Data points that just jump off the screen should set off sirens. All right, this is union households, this is Democratic margin in presidential election. It ain't what it used to be. You know, you go back to 1992, Bill Clinton won that union vote by 30 points. Hillary Clinton only won it by 12 points back in 2016. That was the lowest mark for a Democrat since 1984, Mondale versus Reagan. But look at where Kamala Harris is today. She's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst Democratic performance in a generation, 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who of course won 4 years ago, was sort of that union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark, and the worst in a generation if this, in fact, holds, Sarah. All right, the voters of color. You go back 4 years ago, look at that. Joe Biden won that group by 45 points. Look at where Kamala Harris's support is today. She's still leading amongst that group, but that lead is down 17 points to just 28 points. And I will note that the margin among voters of color who actually graduate college has only been changed by 5 points. 5 points compared to 4 years ago. The reason Donald Trump is doing so well amongst voters of color is because he has really gone in and grabbed a lot of voters that he didn't previously have among those who didn't graduate college. And this is part of a larger trend that we're seeing throughout our politics, Sarah, in which Republicans, specifically Donald Trump, is doing very, very well among working class voters, whether they were in unions, whether they went to trade school, or whether they're voters of color. The fact is Donald Trump seems to have gone into a hotbed of traditional Democratic support and made a lot of movement in ways I don't think a lot of people would have thought when he went down that escalator just back in 2015.
Supposedly, Trump is doing 17 points better among non-white, non-college voters than in 2020. First of all, if that's true, I don't see how Trump can ever lose this election. That's the first thing, especially in the Rust Belt. But secondly, it's no wonder why. You know, people are struggling. There's major issues. And I think people want a fighter. People want someone who's willing to say the truth, to do the right thing, even when saying the right thing might not win you a popularity contest in the mainstream media. Trump is real. He's telling it like it is. He isn't holding back. And probably most importantly, he's speaking for the people whose voices are ignored by the mainstream at large. And so I guess all this to say that, you know, the old Trump never really went anywhere. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.